Hello there guys, and welcome to something a little bit different today. It is a Football Manager 2018 Tactics Guide. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and just on YouTube in general. They seem to be having a little bit having problems with managing it. With the game really, with the beta. Now I've come up with this system for my Leeds side, marching on together. We have been promoted in the first year, and I've done okay. I've done okay in the Premier League. I don't want to say much more than that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's watching the series. But yeah, I'm confident enough in this system to say I think this is a reasonable starting point for people. So what what this is about is the processes I went through to creating it, why I did it, and then the instructions for each area. So I'm going to go through that now. So the first thing I'd recommend you do is pick out the top players at your club, maybe the top 3 players at your club, and put them in their position, in their favorite positions, no matter what that position is. Put them there. Then make sure that they're in the right role. So if they like to be a target man, play them as a target man. If they like to be a poacher, put them as a poacher. Make sure that's in there. Now roles, in my opinion, are more important in this year's version than ever before. If a player is in the correct role, they will play much better. Ronaldo Vieira is an example. Statistics-wise, he does not, to me, look like a Premier League player. But his value is up at £19 million, and even in the Premier League, you can see there he got a very good performance. He's giving very good performances for a deep line midfielder. So, and that's what I'm talking about because he plays in his preferred role as a deep line playmaker. He plays in his preferred role. That makes a huge amount of difference to players. Wherever possible, make sure you play players in their best roles. It's not always possible. I appreciate that, but it is vitally important. That's what I'm trying to stress. So once you have as many players as possible playing in their suited roles, it's time to decide on a style of play. Now, this will be different for every club, and will again depend on the type of players you have there. With Leeds, for example, I looked at our strengths and what I considered to be our weaknesses, and decided a more direct style of play with the defenders not getting on the ball too much. It's important to note that direct does not mean long ball. It means that when our players get on the ball, they are looking to find the forward players quickly rather than pass it backwards or sideways. If you think of Leicester when they won the league with Drinkwater getting the ball and looking for the ball over the top to the striker, or to Vardy as it is for Leicester, and for one of our strikers. That is how this team operates in a rough way. So after deciding on that style of play, make sure you give it some thought. You don't want to just be doing something you think because you want to see a team play Barcelona. That just can't always work. So once you decide on a style of play, you need to be able to come up with some team instructions. So I will run through now what I do for each of them. So here, I'm playing as I'm playing a direct style of play. I'm happy playing on defensive because we keep men behind the ball. It means that when we get the ball, we are more direct. We look to get it forward quicker, and that feeds directly into the tempo. So as a rule of thumb, if you are playing, the more direct you're playing, the higher the tempo you want to be. So if you are chasing a game later on and you're going route one, you will want to go at much higher tempo. If you are playing a short passing possession-based system, you'll want to go a lower or even much lower tempo. Now, not much lower is probably not brilliant in terms of actually creating chances because you're playing at such a slow passing nature that the opposition team will be able to defend easily. That's more used if you think you are better than the opposition and you're trying to see out the game by keeping the ball. That's basically what that is. Time wasting, it comes pretty much with playing as I'm on a defense system. It says play most team frequently. That's fine. Width-wise, we play 2 wingers on either side, as you can see here, and so we want to stretch the pitch as wide as possible. So defensive line and closing down are very, very important. So defensive line, first of all, will be dictated by 2 things. First of all, the speed of your defenders. It's pretty obvious, really. If you have slower defenders, then you need to play a deeper line to keep them back. But it also will depend on how much of a press you want your team to do, how much closing down you want them to do. If you want your team to be a high pressing, counter-attacking, like Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool Gegenpress type system, then there's no point having your defensive line deep, as it will leave space in behind your midfield. You want to condense the space and force your opposition into either a mistake or a long ball forward for you to deal with. So if you're doing that kind of high press and every player is absolutely busting their gut to win the ball back in the opposition half, your defense needs to be up on the halfway line. Needs to be at much. You want your defense to be slightly higher, or even just overall higher, much higher, really. So yeah, these come sort of hand in hand. Now I have it on normal defensive line, and I have much more closing down. Now, much more when you playing that kind of thing doesn't mean massive. If I went higher, you could see it pushes that on there, because it means that because they're higher, it naturally will make them close down more. No, I put that on closing down, but I then have certain players set to not close down as much, because closing down is always good sometimes. Closing down can be good sometimes, but sometimes you want players to be in position. You want players to be. You don't want your midfielders, particularly the defensive midfielder. You don't want him rushing out to close somebody down and leaving a massive gap behind your midfield. So that need to be thinking of that. So those 2 are really, really important about how you defend. Really, really important. I never use these 2. I set my goalkeeper to kick long. I'll go through that in a second. So I don't feel the need to prevent the short distribution. Tight marking, I never use. I don't notice too much of a difference between putting it on or off. So I suppose it's up to you, depending on how good your defenders are at marking. I suppose marking and concentration. I would say you'd need higher to be able to use tight marking. I have a tackling on get stuck in. It does seem to be, for the past couple of years, really. I would say it's fairly crucial in most systems to have get stuck in. It does mean you get a fair amount of cards in games, but usually, as long as you can manage it correctly, you avoid red cards. I very, very rarely have red cards, and often they might be just as a result of a poor tackle rather than a second yellow card happening every so often. It's quite rare that I get them. So that's the defense side of it. The build-up side is all based around the flanks. So we're playing a wider system, a wider width, and we want to be exploiting that by getting the ball out wide to both flanks. And again, we have a clear ball to flanks, because again, that feeds into our direct style of play. We're not just going long straight to the striker. We're going into the flanks, hoping that the wingers can produce something for us. And that's how we look to play. Now, if you were a possession-based team, if you were Man City, Barcelona, and you were looking to get the ball through the middle, you had a lot of attacking midfielders. You had, I don't know, you had some kind of a narrow 4-2-3-1, and you'd be looking to go through the middle, and you'd be playing out defence. But we don't have that. The more direct style basically means we do not want to do that. Yeah, so it all feeds in together, and that's what you need to remember. You need to remember what your aim is as you're going through this. So my aim is to play a direct style of football that encourages wide men getting on the ball as much as possible, and encourages a solid defence keeping their line, keeping their shape, and that is what the whole thing is about. So yeah, so more direct passing, it's the highest it can go before it's route 1. We're not quite at route 1, but we are on a more direct passing. You can see there, if you hover over each one, it tells you what what each one means. So moderate passing, yeah, a quicker transition from back to front with the ball covering longer distances in a quicker amount of time. So again, that does not mean we're going to just whack it long all the time. It just means that we aren't looking to pass sideways and backwards as much. We still do keep possession. You know, our possession stats aren't awful, but we are less about that than we are about chances and goals, which is I think is more important. I have them set on being more disciplined. Really, that's more for my sort of defending half of the team. I don't want them to be pushing forward and attacking loads. I feel more comfortable being more disciplined. And plus, doing something like this is you start off defensive, and if something is happening in the game that isn't what you want, then you can change it. So yeah, so that covers the build up. Now the attacking side of it, we look to whip the ball into the box. So when the wingers get it, they aren't just going to be lumping the ball in. They're going to be looking to attack their man first and foremost, pretty much. They're going to be looking to find ways to get the ball into the box, but not instantly. It's not just about whipping balls in every single time. So we whip the ball to the box. We don't look for an overlap. We ask our fullbacks to support. They aren't asked to bomb on and make an overlapping run and absolutely whipping a beautiful ball. It's their primary job is to defend, and that's what they do. And obviously, working the ball into the box takes away a shoot on sight and early crosses, so you can't do that. Underlap is a similar thing to overlap. We choose whip crosses just because of the we have a fairly small striker currently. That could easily change if you played a target man or somebody who's a threat in the air. Then playing you might choose floaty crosses. You may want mixed. I choose whipped. It suits our players. It allows the opposite winger sometimes to get in at the other side as well as the striker. And yeah, it always works well for me. Dribbling is probably the one part of this system that I am least comfortable with. I quite like run at defence, but I feel like I have had it on, and I feel like in general it seems to cost us goals in a weird way. Like we'll just run at defence seems to mean in this game that the wide men, man will get it, and they'll just walk into the guy, get tackled, and then we'll get counted on. So I'll leave that off. I don't select any of them. If you have a lot of very highly technical, skilled wingers, then by all means, run at defence all day long. But if you're up against a very, very good defensive unit, they will win the ball back off you pretty comfortably. Yeah, so dribble less, obviously, stop your players trying to beat players, and it's probably a bit more of a safe move because players aren't trying to beat them, so they're less likely to lose the ball because they're just keeping it. And then freedom of movement, it blocks out throw from positions because I am more disciplined. So the only option is stick to positions. I don't have that on because I'm happy for some of the players. I'm happy for some of the players to move around. Some of the player instructions, which I'll go through in a second, are on whole position, and that's part of it really. So that covers the actual team instructions. The player instructions. Goalkeeper is on to go long, and to distribute to the striker. So basically, he's kicking long to the striker at all times. Now the fullbacks, they are designed they cross more often. You just get further forward because he's on attack. And again, these duties and roles are because of who the players are. So change these to match the players to make sure. So the extra instructions I have are sit narrower. So he is it's all about a solid defensive shape. At the start of the game, I thought, okay, I always love having my fullbacks in previous years, bombing on, pushing on, and getting opportunities. But it just doesn't work. It just does not work in this. It didn't work for me anyway. They'd push on, we'd lose the ball, and they'd be straight in behind them, and we'd concede loads. So that covers the fullbacks. They are both on the same system. We have one centre back, sorry, two centre backs obviously, but we don't do much with them. Just shoot less, dribble less, and make sure you put them in the right roles. Vitally important. It's up here where we actually have more. So the deep line playmaker is there to, you can say, dribble less, tackle harder, and pass it shorter. We don't want this guy. If this guy loses the ball, we are in big trouble because they are right at our back four. We want this guy to be being very, very safe, to be keeping the ball at all times. He needs to be able to put in a solid, hard tackle. He's holding his position, which is already active, and shoot less often is already active because he's on defend. And yeah, that's a really, really. He's probably the key player in this whole system, this deep line playmaker. That operates as like as the ball winner, really the screen in front of the defenders. This role is probably the one that's most up for grabs. Is the Mazzala role. I've not changed anything with this because I change it very regularly in in game. So Mazzala, if you didn't know, if you're down here, it's a modern interpretation of Mazzala, a central player that likes to drift wide and operate in the half spaces. The Mazzala is essentially a central half winger who likes to do his defending slightly further up the field, although he does generally have less defensive responsibility. He's on support, and with that duty, the Mazzala will seek to balance his responsibilities between more traditional midfield work and the inclination to contribute in the attacking third. So essentially, he is like having an extra attacker on the pitch. It is a pretty attacking looking lineup, and that's why we have to balance it a little bit by being defensive. So this role again, so what he'll do, he'll get further forward, he'll roam, and he will close, and this is where the closing down comes in. He's a big part of it. These players are stationed high up the pitch so that they are able to connect with the opposition more, and that's that role. I occasionally flip between a Mazzala and a box to box, and every now and again, if we are looking to see out a game, I'll switch it to ball winning midfielder to make him stay back a little more. But that's how this that midfield 2 works really. The wingers, as you can see, we have them on to cross from the byline. I always like my wingers to beat a man and get a ball into the box. I want them to beat the man and whip in the ball, as we spoke about earlier. They're there to not shoot as much. We don't want them taking shots from miles out. Because quite often in this system we'll have not that many chances, but we'll score them. We'll look like we haven't deserved to win games because what we do is we create a high quality of chance. We often have less shots than opposition, but we have many more clear cuts because of how close we are when we are taking shots, basically. So that's both our wingers. They play the same instructions are on, but the one of them is on attack and one is on support, again just because of the players who are playing there. Alternate, do as you wish, and again you can, if one of your players here, if it's a player here prefers to be inside forward, put him on an inside forward, but the general shape of the system is reliant on the wingers. That's basically the two important attacking players. They need to be good players. You can't skimp in this area. Attacking midfielder, attacking advanced playmaker. I haven't done a lot with him. More direct passes, shoot less often. I don't want him shooting. I want him passing the ball. I think that's already active actually. Yeah. So more direct passes because this is our sort of main creator in the team. He's supposed to get on the ball, feed the ball into the wingers, into the striker, pick out plays, pick out something, and be that technical creative outlet. The striker, again, not a great deal. Complete forward because it suits the players we have. He's more, and we want to have more direct passing. Basically, we're asking him to make a contribution in attacking third, to be risky with the ball, essentially. And in general, the way we play, when he gets it, he's very high up the pitch, and so if he gets a direct pass through, a risky pass through, it will likely lead to a clear-cut opportunity. So that runs through the team and player instructions. Now, one other massively important thing is set pieces. Now, set pieces in this year, the default set pieces are rubbish. Do not use them. Just don't use them. I mean, and I have seen people complaining about that, and I think, well, it does not. It took me 5 minutes to come up with this, literally 5 minutes, and it's a pretty. It's not amazing, but this is attacking. I don't do anything different attacking or attacking left or right. The ball goes in to a near post. Centre backs are on the front post. Striker will attack the ball, and centre backs on the back post. And then we have a player edge of the area. Full backs stay back. Other players are in the box. That's pretty much the system for attacking corners, and we get a few. We do get a few. Defending corners again. Do not leave it as it is. Never, just do not do it. I found good success make sure somebody is on that front post zonally marked 6-yard box near post. So many times early on in games, or earlier on in this save, we conceded goals just because of a low corner going in. Somebody just completely unmarked, just tapped in from 6 yards out, and I was thinking, what is going on there? So I decided to just spend a bit of time, and again, it probably took me 10 minutes, if that, to come up with both of these. And we you know, it's not perfect. We still concede from corners every now and again, and we still don't score as many as I'd probably like. But it's much better than the default. So if you do want to copy something of this, then copy this. If you don't want to copy it, yeah. So that pretty much runs through my system. I don't put option instructions on unless we are getting demolished, basically. Unless we are really struggling, and I think, well, maybe we do need to get closer to certain players, then I will put them on. One other thing that's really, really important is to look at how things are going in games. So look at how things are going. So get to at half time, it will come up with a area like this. It will come up with recent match analysis, or it'll come up with match analysis, and it will say good points and bad points. Now, if it comes up saying that a player is giving the ball away more than anybody else, then go into their player instructions and make their passing style shorter. It means they're going to be taking easier passes and keeping the ball better. It's a very, very simple example. It won't always be that straightforward, but that's just a simple way where at the half-time screen, before you go into the team talk, it will come up saying, in this area, it'll come up saying pros and cons, basically, of the game so far. Look at that and try and see if you can think of anything that will make a difference to those negatives. So, obviously, this is not a perfect system. It started off completely differently. I started off attacking and I changed around, and then that's what you'll need to do. You'll have to adapt the system to see what's working, what's not working. Make sure that at least for the first 10 games that you play, you are looking at every single goal you concede and score to see, and you're looking at them analytically to see how they're happening, where your players are when no different passages of play, should I say, are happening. And particularly, I'd say maybe conceding goals. You want to know where the gaps are, where the issues are. But if you do want to, I'm not gonna put this. I'm not gonna share this just yet. The system, because I don't want to say this is amazing system. This is what everyone should use. It isn't. It has its issues, particularly away from home. We do have a poorer record away from home, but it's important to look at the analyses at half time and after the game. Look at how the goals are going in, for and against, and just come up think about things in a logical way. That's probably a big takeaway, really. It's just that try and be logical with what you're asking the players to do. So, like when I said about closing down and a defensive line, don't have closing down and much more, but then think, oh well, I'll have my defensive line on deep. Because all that will do, if you think about that in real life, all that will do is your defense will be dropped deep, on all your other players will be up the pitch, and you'll have a massive gap there between your midfield and your defence. And it's just silly. That if you think about it like that, doing that it's just madness. And that's what we need to get into. How would it work in real life? FM isn't perfect at sort of doing that kind of real life type situation, but it is very good at doing punishing you for making those kinds of mistakes. So that's it really, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this this video. It is something very different from my channel. If you have found it helpful, please do drop a like on it. Let me know in the comments if you do want me to share the tactic. I am open to doing it. It's just I'd rather avoid it at the moment because I'm still making changes as I go. I'm into the 3rd season now, and I'm still going through changes and checking bits and trying to make it work better. But if you do want to have access to it, then I mean I've pretty much shown it to you in its entirety, so you can make it up without it. But if you do want me to share it, let me know, and I'll happily do that. So subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. I may make some more of these if this is well received. I don't know how it'll go down. It's something completely different. But yeah, follow me on Twitter, of course, at DLCDave1. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.